Alrighty. So today we're going to be working on some shaders here. Oh, sorry. Why is that? There we go. So today we're going to be working on shaders, and what I mean by that is we're going to be working on developing node groups and seeing how they interact with each other. So as you can see here, this is a really complex one, and it has scratches and roughness and all that kind of stuff. So we're just going to use a basic sphere and work on texturing. Give me a moment here. Alright, so first step is we're going to delete everything and just add in a basic icosphere here. There we go. And give it quite a few subdivisions if your computer can handle it. And you can always just set it to shade smooth later. I find that having a ton of subdivisions just helps in general. So, yeah, let's get started with the shading. So just head over to the shader tab here and click New. That'll get you this basic shader here. And we're actually going to delete this. And we're going to start with one of my favorites, which is just some like rippled metal. So we're going to get in a glossy BSDF here and plug this into the surface. And what that's going to do is it's just going to give us this metal. And we can play with the roughness there, make it shiny, make it rough, however you want. But then what we're going to do is we're going to get a Voronoi. And that's just a bunch of math. And we can place the distance into the displacement there. And we get this really weird look. But we can play around with it a bit. So scale like that. Randomness. We can make it a grid. It's just really weird, but it's really cool. So that is one node. And I'm just going to show you each one that we're going to be using today. And then we've got the Musgrave Texture. This is another cool node. There we go. And this one's sort of just like a randomly generated noise kind of thing. So I can take that. We're going to get a noise. There we go. And we're going to put that there. And this is just showing you all what these do to start with here. There we go. So this is pretty similar to the Musgrave, except I think this one is a little bit more jagged. And it has its uses later. Because the Musgrave is more of like a wrinkle, and then this one's just noise. And you'll see what they all do in a minute. So we're going to be layering these, and it's going to have a really cool effect. The next one we're going to get is called which one is it? Nope, it's noise. Oh, the magic texture. And then this is also similar to the Musgrave, just a little bit different. And you'll just want to play around with it a bit and see what each one does. So this one is kind of a repeating pattern here. You know what, let's just get a box in here to show, because it doesn't always look the best on a sphere. Control Shift T, there we go, map it. And as you can see, it's different on each side. So to fix that, we just go from that to UV. Nope. object. Texture. Okay, this was working. Sorry, my computer does weird things when it decides to do a live stream. So we're just gonna... Oh, that's right, because I'm putting on the displacement. So the displacement just makes it look embossed, but that changes every time, or that is just from one direction here. So, I mean, we can rotate it. Where's the rotation? Here we go. Yeah, that's why. So it's just rotated there. So what we could do with that is if we just made it the texture like this and plugged it into the roughness. There we go. Yeah, that's what we want. So that just goes all around it there. And then you can play with the scale, the distortion. Now distortion is fun because that just makes everything like spirally. Like that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to delete this. And we are going to see what happens when we layer them. Add a glossy to our surface here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take the color and put it into the roughness. And we're going to take a noise and put the factor into the vector. And what that's going to do is it's going to make this noisy. So without, we can make that really small. There we go, without. And then with. See how that's much more random? We can increase the detail, and the detail is then going to make each of these edges distorted. Like that. And so that's really cool if you want like a frosted effect. I mean, there you go. You've got like dirty metal. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this group, just move it off to the side here. We're going to get our Musgrave and our Voronoi here. We're going to take the distance, put it into the roughness, like that. There we go, randomness up. Also, one thing with Voronoi is there's a bunch of different ones, and each one are based on a different fractal set. So I'll just put this here for now. Let's just do that so you can see it here. So this is the texture itself. And you've got a bunch of different ones like this. So this is Eucelian. And you know what? These don't show up very well on circles because they're mapped. So we're just going to use a cube for now. So this one is like that, and then it distorts it. The Manhattan is also a cube, and then it distorts it a lot more. And this one's really cool if you want like a sci-fi pattern. What you can do is you can put this on the displacement here. And there you go. You've got this really cool sci-fi like metal plate texture. And so then you can change the randomness there, make it look kind of square. Depends on how you like it. I personally like it right around here, where it kind of looks like interlocking plates. And then you've got Chebyshev, and this one is also square based, and it goes into more of a triangular texture. They're all really weird and really cool, but they're essentially just math based. And then this one's square and it goes to there. There was one that was different. Which one was it? Oh, here we go. Yeah. So you can also do how many factors you want it done by. So I can go to Euclidean, there, and I can do it by a factor of 2. And so that doubles the randomness. Or Manhattan here. Chebyshev. So as you can see, it kind of looks like it's layered there. So yeah, it's just really cool. You can also do it based on position here. Let's go back to F1. And so position will be pretty much the same. I don't honestly know the difference between those. But then distance is distance from the center, or distance from each edge. So it gives you this really cool, like, sticking out effect. Change the scale, change the randomness again. Like that. And you can also add, one of the really important nodes to remember here is a color ramp. And you can use this for pretty much anything, and should. I use it almost every time. And this allows you to control how much or how little of each node you use. So say you only want things at a certain depth, just use that. You don't want it to go too deep, use that. Too shallow, use that. And you can just play around with it. You can reverse things. It's a lot of fun. But things really get weird when you add another node. So let's add the Musgrave texture here. And there we go. We've got this really cool, like, topographic map. And this is, I think, just like amazing. You can make it look like liquid metal. You can make it look however you want. One thing you can do is the Node Wrangler add-on. Preferences here. You just go Node. And it should already be installed. It obviously will be if you just installed Blender. So just hit Control T. There we go. Don't know what that was. Control Z, Control Z. There we go. Hit Control T there. And this adds a mapping node, which allows you to scale your texture however you want. So if we scale down this way, then we get sort of a wood texture. Now obviously it's shiny, so it's not going to look like perfect wood yet, but we could take this and delete it and add in a principled BSDF here. Obviously not on the displacement node there. There. So if we take this and plug it into the surface here, there we go. So now base color we want to be brown. Sort of a tannish brown, like that. And now what we can do is we can get a mix shader here. Shift A, add a mix shader, and copy this. So Control C, Control V. Also, Shift A is how you get to this search bar, if I forgot to say that earlier. So now that we have our two principled BSDFs here, we can delete these. We can take this shader and plug it into the top or bottom, and this one there, and bring this shader to that one. So this is going to mix these two shaders here. So we want this one to be a bit darker. Come on. There we go. So as you can see, it didn't really do anything. It just changed the brightness there, but we want it to change the brightness only in the grooves. So to do that, we're going to select this node group and just copy all of them. Control C, Control V, there we go. And apply this as the factor here. So what that's going to do is it's going to tell us this only applies in this section. So if it loads, there we go. So now we have wood only in this section, which is just what we want. Like that. And we can change the color however we want. And we can also change how much. So say we want it to bleed a little bit, we can do that. Or like that. And you can pretty much have endless possibilities with this. As long as you don't touch these two, this or these, this should match up. And you can map it however you want. Like that. So just play around with that until you're happy with it. And yeah, it's pretty easy once you know what you're doing. And it is a lot of fun. Obviously, you're not going to want to show this side because that doesn't look like wood. But when you have it mapped, say, you know what? I should probably just do this so that they're the same texture here. And you can reuse any one of these points here as many times as you want. You can have as many branches coming out of each one. Come on. Man, it is. Yep, it's hot. Alright. So, come on. There we go. So what we can do here is we can say map to the UV. And if it works like it, not like it did last time where it didn't work, it should map it. There we go. So now we have a wood texture. Very easy, but say you don't want those cuts, you can just tab and bevel, tab, shade smooth, and do it to the normal. Will that work? Or I guess object here. There we go. Come on. Also, yes, having a bunch of node stacks will slow your PC, just because it has to load all of this, and it gets kind of annoying occasionally. So yeah, just play around with that. You'll have to hide the seams, but this is a really good way to just get a nice basic wood texture. And if you're doing, say, a plank, like this, and you just want wood on it, you're going to have to rotate. There we go. It's going to look fine. I mean, you can make an entire floor out of that, and you wouldn't notice. So, and also, these are all procedural, so it's not like they're supposed to be perfect shaders. They're supposed to be fast and built into Blender. You could use an image shader, but honestly, finding one that works Takes a lot of time. So, and the point of this tutorial is the node-based ones. So let's just select all of these, except for this, and delete them. Delete this. Now let's work on one of my favorites here, or another one, glass. So let's add some glass here to the surface. So now we have this big, beautiful marble. We can, just for the fun of it, let's add something in the middle here. Let's add a Suzanne, scale it down, add a subdivision surface here. There we go. Shift cycles. And add a light because this is going to look really cool. So there we go. We have a Suzanne model within a ball of glass. And as you can see, the Suzanne model is actually smaller than it looks. And that's because of this index of refraction. So you can actually have a magnifying glass in Blender, and it's really cool. So you can Google the index of refraction for glass. I just leave it to the default because it looks good. So what we're going to do here, though, is we're going to add some roughness and make it look sort of worn and dirty. So let's get our Voronoi, our Musgrave, our color ramp, and our noise. Nope, not white noise. There we go. And these three are pretty much the ones I use 90% of the time. So we take this color and put it into the roughness. And as you can see, that just doesn't do much. I mean, you get a slider, whoop-de-doo. And you can control the roughness this way. I mean, it's not wrong to do so. But what we want to do is we want to take the distance here and put it into the factor. Like that. So now we have patches of roughness and patches of light. We can reverse this here. Like that. Scale it up however we want. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this Musgrave and put this into the vector. And this is going to look really cool. So we've got this. But what if you don't like that? Well, use the noise on the vector. Come on, computer. There we go. Scale this up or down like that. Scale this. Add some detail. Now we've got this kind of patchy, blotched look. This is where we put the Musgrave. I got it backwards. And is it? Hang on, now I'm all confused. Noise goes there, and Voronoi goes here. No. Noise goes there. And Musgrave goes there. Bear with me here, sorry. There. That's how you get the cracked look. Yeah, there we go. So now we've got these cracks. And we can put this into our normal here as well. Nope, not the normal. We put that into the displacement. Now the one problem with using the displacement node here is the shade smooth modifier does not like working with it. So you have to have it really high res in order for it to work, which I do. So there, and now we have our cracks. There we go. Shift A. Well, let's just copy these. There. Color into roughness. Scale it back. Like that. There. Come on, load. Alright. Let's delete that here. Get a Musgrave, get that back. Come on. You know what? I figured it out. Color ramp. Get another color ramp there. Roughness. Shift A. Voronoi. No, we want a mix RGB. There. There. Come on, select. Put that on the factor. that on the color. Okay. There. Did that do it? Oh, that's going to color. No, roughness. There we go. That might be part of the problem. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Yep, that's what we want. There we go. So now we only have patches here of roughness. Let's add in a plane so we can see it here. So if you can see that, we now have patches of roughness. Like that. And we just want it sort of soft. Perfect. So yeah, that was my bad. This was plugged into the color there. It should have been in the roughness. So now that we have that, let's move this down. There we go. So now we can render this out here. We can give it a tint. I'm going to give it a slightly pink tint there because it's nice and soft. And we can add our texture from before on that. No, that's our glass. Let's just give this a metal. We could just add a glossy BSDF on that, but it also works just to do metallic and roughness. That's essentially all the glossy is. But yeah, I normally just use this. Shade smooth, modifier, add a subdivision, roughness down, color down, metallic. There we go. And what we're going to do to this is we're going to give it a sort of hammered look. So we're going to give it a Voronoi. And that's all. We're just going to take the distance to the displacement here and scale it down, or scale it up. Shift T to map to the object. There. And what that does is it just gives it a nice hammered style look, which I think is pretty cool. But we don't want it that deep, so we're going to add a color ramp. Move that out of the way there. Come on. Okay. And we can also plug this node into the normal here, which I think I'm going to do because it doesn't look as... Oh, hang on, did that mess it up? Yep, that messed it up. Alright, let's just keep it on this placement there. So, now that we have a texture on this, give it a hammered. Let's give it sort of a coppery color as well. There we go. So now that we have this hammered copper and our glass ball, we can render this out. Now, before we render it out, we need to get the lighting right. So we've got one point light here that I added earlier, and it's sending this nice harsh light, but we want a little soft light over there as well. So let's add a light, area, and G to move it, rotate it around like... Sorry, I have a ball mouse because it helps my wrist, but it's not the best for positioning things in Blender. There we go, nice soft box. S, X. There we go, scale it that way. And turn the brightness up just a little bit there. Like that. And as you can see now, that lights it up from behind, but there's still this harsh shadow from that one there. You can move that up and out, like so. So, for a backdrop, we're just going to simply take this edge there and there, and extrude it up. Select these three edges, and bevel. Shade smooth. And now we have a studio, just like that. Scale it down a bit there. Now we just need to add a light, or add a camera, sorry. There we go. And now you're ready to render. GPU. And I'm going to open up Blender 3.0 here. This is the experimental version of Blender. Open. I have so much stuff just clogging up my space. Where did I save that to? There we go. So now we just render it. Render. We need to turn on denoising. When you use glass, always use denoising. There we go. Turn the samples up. Render image. And that is rendering in real time right now. Cycles X is awesome. Like literally this would have taken 10 minutes on the other version. So as you can see here, our cracks look like cracks. Our roughness nodes here look like little smudges, and our copper looks like hammered copper. So if you enjoyed this tutorial, hit the like button, subscribe. It helps a lot, and yeah. Leave a comment down below if you want to see something new, if you want something covered differently, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And yeah, thank you for watching. I will see you next time.